she was telling you is on the back side of this paper. And the front side is the amendments for Fund 141. The 141 amendment, item number 1, they're just reallocating funds within the coordinated school health budget. If they do not spend those funds, by the end of the year they lose them, so they're giving those where they can spend them. Item number 2, they're moving money within the nurses' budget to buy some more supplies. So those are just within their budgets and they're moving them around. Like I said, the back side is the one that Carol discussed with you about race to the top. So I'll present those to you at the board meeting. If there's any questions, I'll be glad to answer them. No questions? I'm sure our next topic you'll have plenty of questions about. The last meeting that we had about budgets, you requested a list of accounts outside of salary and benefits. We were talking about a 10% across the board cut. That packet is those accounts, and it gives you a description on the far right column of what's coming out of those accounts, so you'll know what that is. I think Danny just handed you a PowerPoint presentation. That's what I'm getting ready to put up here. You'll see how we went through that and what we did with those line items. A lot of those line items you cannot cut 10%, and I'll explain that to you when we get there. Let me pull a separate quick one.
We lost the remote.
There, remote down on the table over, guys.
Quarter. It's a new one, is that Castillo?
Push it from our
Change the lights on it.
Need to be closer right there. That's right.
Thank you very much. Here we are. All right. We sat down the other day and looked at ways we could cut and what we thought we might have to add. We went through that list that you have, and this is what we have. I'm going to show you what we're going to have to add, what we have figured that we can cut, and some revenues that we know that are going to be a little bit different. So we'll just go through that real quick. This is not a detailed presentation by any means. I think we'll need to get back and talk about this more, but this is just to give you a little bit of an idea of where we're at. Let's talk about revenues first, what we know so far. I did receive a BEP estimate. I think I got it yesterday, actually. And getting to that BEP estimate, we've lost approximately 100 ADMs this year. Everything we get is based on ADMs, basically. BEP number 1. BEP, even though they're given a 2.5% state-mandated increase in professional salaries, we're still losing $236,000. Now that's the first estimate. It may change a little bit, but it's usually pretty accurate. So right off the bat, BEP is down $236,000 from this current year that we're in. When you lose ADMs, usually your ADAs, which is average daily attendance, goes down as well. That's what they base the city-county split on. That affects your property tax, your sales tax, anything that's locally funded. They have to split that city and county. If you lose 1%, which is what we have lost, roughly 1%, that is almost $100,000 that you'll lose in property tax alone. So it doesn't sound like a big amount, but 1% does amount to a lot. So as far as revenues, that's where we know we're at right now. Not a real good picture in revenues, but it's not as bad as we thought it would be. So there you have what we have in revenues. What do we need to add to our budget? What do we know that's going to come in next year that we've got to have? As we just said, a 2.5% state mandated raise. Even though it's state mandated, doesn't mean it's state funded. You see a number there, $714,000. Now that includes, not only does that include the 2.5%, that also includes step increases for the professional teacher. You still have to do that. But altogether, it's $714,000. That's salary and benefits, which would be Social Security, Medicare, and retirement that we have to pay for those employees.
That's for the teachers that we have that's over BEP?
kind of hard to explain.
That's our part of,
They base
all of
their,
okay.
allocation that they give us on like a 39,714, is that what it was? Got 20 numbers in my head. You get that per position that you have in the DEP. You don't get, if somebody has a master's degree and 30 years experience, it's not based on that salary, it's based on that average salary.
Okay.
So they'll increase that 2.5%, but they don't increase it like we're having to pay on ours. So yes, those positions over BEP do come into play on that, but you're also having to increase above and beyond what they've done for the state funded positions. Health insurance, you know, last year we used this year we used jobs for education money to pay for that. That will be gone next year. We have heard nothing about an insurance increase, but we didn't get an increase last year. Now, I don't ever want to go without a 10% increase put in our budget because I don't feel comfortable without it. Insurance always goes up. When we got a rate hold last year, it was great, but I don't expect it again this year. So to put that 10% back in there, it's $395,000. So that's a known expense that we're going to have to put back in that budget. Since we use jobs for education money, that increase is not in the general purpose budget, so we'll have to put it in there. Family Resource Center, this is an area that has been cut by the state. If you want to keep the Family Resource Center, that's $29,611.65. That's another increase we'll have to add. Carol has mental health facility costs. Carol's got mental health facility costs that we have to pay.
Mr. Crane asked the question,
What all is this Family Resource Center? What do we
It's
actually,
Julie knows.
what all does she do in there? I mean,
She works with parents. She gets coats together with these agencies that provide backpacks, the backpack foods, the backpacks for after school. She brings parents in, she does newsletters for them. So, you know, if somebody is in need of something, she's the one they call to connect with the agencies to do that.
shoes, winter coats,
Shoes,
things like that.
She does winter coats every year and shoes and things like that.
Any other questions on that one?
No, that's fine, thank you.
All right, mental health facility costs, not just Carol, I'm sorry, but we have to pay mental health facility costs for students that are in a mental health facility. That's running about $700 a month. So we put $8,000 in there because that's mandated. We have no option, we have to pay that. We put $5,000 in superintendent travel. In talking with Dr. Ellis and all the supervisors, there's going to be a lot more travel next year for a superintendent to have to do. There's literally nothing in that budget to begin with if they travel. You know that in your contract you have a monthly allowance that you pay your superintendent currently. That monthly allowance will come out of that account as well, plus any travel they do, distance travel. So that's something that we think you're probably going to want to put $5,000 in there. GASB 45, this is a financial thing that you have to do for your post-employment benefits. You are required to pay an actuary study to do the study on your benefits. You do it every other year. This is the year we have to do it. So we need about $5,000 additional in that line as well. The maintenance department has uniform service. That account is not sufficient to hold what they're having to pay for uniform service. So we put $1,500 in that account. To maintain that service, they'll have to have $1,500 in there. Drug testing at the bus garage, that's a requirement that we have to do, and I don't think we want to go without it. They need a little more money than that, it's $2,000. So those additions are over $1 million. You can see the hefty increases in 2.5% mandated raise in medical insurance.
714, that's the state's part?
No,
That's what we're required to pay.
What part of that is the state's? Approximately how much do they pay of the 2.5%?
They pay,
We got $48,000.
So
technically 714 is going to be our part, that don't include that 48.
that's right, there's nothing up there that includes the state's part. That's what we owe above and beyond what the state gave us. It's an astounding number, I agree.
You said that's
Yeah,
all,
that
everything,
includes-
yeah, that's where we're over BEP, and that's like where we're paying a higher salary for people with master's degree, that's everything lumped
And
together.
that includes our step increases, because as you know, they're on a sliding scale, and each year they get
That's what I said, that's where
experience.
we're above the BEP. That's probably the biggest chunk of it.
Some of our BEP positions, yeah, those that are over, they'll be, that's a big chunk. That's the bad news, so I do bad news first. Where can we cut? Nobody wants to make cuts, but obviously with the picture we just painted, we're gonna have to. The first slide is payroll related items. We have 2 full-time janitors who are retiring. Make those 2 full-time positions 4 part-time positions. Therefore, you save the money in benefits. You don't have to pay health insurance for it. And it's through attrition, so nobody's losing a job. So that was $14,250. Summer mowers, we talked about this, we've beat this horse to death. We've cut the hours on summer mowers, that'll save us about $15,000. We still have an issue with overtime, and Kevin is working through that to see if we can get that situated where we have full-time employees coming in after hours and mowing. This does not take that into consideration, so we still have a little more wiggling to do on that one, but that would be a significant savings if you cut that. It says 75 hours per week to cut them. That's not each mower. That's the total per week for 75 hours when we cut that out.
That's keeping the same mowers and people that we have now. That's
It
correct.
is, but it's not taking into consideration those that are working overtime that need to be paid overtime.
Now, summer workers, some